I'm asking AI to make the perfect tactic in Football Manager 2023, and then we're going to test what they come up with to see how it does. So I've chosen to try and use this perfect tactic on Brentford. And the reason for that is because in this version of the game, for whatever reason, Brentford are actually supposed to be relegated. I think in the initial season preview, maybe they were a little bit higher, but in this, they're expected to finish in 18th place. So potentially, if we have a perfect tactic, we might be able to see them shoot up the table. And if it is a really good tactic, then we should expect to see some really good results. So if we go with Brentford as opposed to a team like Man City, is it just because their players are so good? Did the tactic do anything if they did really well? But at least with Brentford, we have some room to see if the tactic does poorly or if the tactic does really well and helps the team to do a lot better than expected. So at first, I asked ChatGPT very generically, can you make the perfect tactic in Football Manager 2023? And ChatGPT gave me a very in-depth answer, but it wasn't quite something that I could immediately implement into Football Manager. It gave a number of different formations, talked about changing within a match, and looking at different team instructions. So I figured I needed to be a little bit more specific with the question I was asking ChatGPT. So then I chose a specific team, Brentford, and I asked ChatGPT to make the perfect tactic for Brentford in the English Premier Division. And this is where ChatGPT gave a very specific answer that we could implement into Football Manager. We got a formation, very specific team instructions, including in possession, in transition, and out of possession, as well as the player roles and duties. So we are going to go through and implement these into Football Manager to see whether ChatGPT really did make the perfect tactic. So ChatGPT chose a 4-2-3-1. I'm going to go through and implement all of the tactical instructions and player roles, and I will see you once that is completed. All right, this is what ChatGPT's perfect tactic for Brentford looks like. And overall, it looks like a pretty decent, albeit standard tactic. The only thing really that may be a little bit different is having both a DM and a central midfielder. But overall, it looks like a decent standard tactic. Diving a little bit deeper into the tactic, they have chosen a balanced mentality, which makes sense for Brentford, a team that's maybe supposed to finish in the lower half of the English Premier Division. Looking at some of the instructions, overall, it seems like ChatGPT favors a possession-based approach. Most of the things are pretty standard, such as attacking width and tempo, but ChatGPT has gone with a shorter passing directness, less dribbling, and more disciplined, along with working the ball into the box. So clearly ChatGPT is in favor of kind of controlling the possession in a more possession-based game. That being said, in transition, they do favor counter press and counter-attacking football. They do want to distribute to center backs, again, in favor of that more possession-based game. And overall, ChatGPT seems to like a little bit of a higher defensive line and a little bit more pressing. Looking at the player roles, there are admittedly quite a few attacking roles. We have 2 fullbacks on attack, as well as pretty much a very attacking front 4. But otherwise, the team looks pretty solid. We have 2 inside forwards, an advanced playmaker, and an advanced forward. I think this suits each of those players very well. We have 2 solid central midfielders, one as a deep lying playmaker and one as a box-to-box midfield, as well as 2 center backs and a goalkeeper on defend. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid tactic, and it should be a decent tactic for Brentford. But that's what ChatGPT has come up with. How will Brentford do this season? We're going to go one season into the future, and we're going to see, did ChatGPT really make the perfect tactic? See you in a season. Welcome back, and overall, it was a decent season for Brentford, who finished 13th in the English Premier Division, with overall very equal, a similar number of wins and losses. Goal differential was +1 and overall 49 points total. It was a decent season for Brentford, and I think tactic did fairly well. Let's take a look and see how some of Brentford's important players did last season. I think Ivan Toney is going to be the big one. And overall, a tactic that gets Ivan Toney 15 goals, I think that's pretty solid. Some other important players, Lewis Potter playing out on the wings, got 10 goals, so double-digit goals is pretty good there. Hadid and Mbuemo did. And 14 goals, honestly. The attacking players, let's finally look at Damsgaard, but I think 11 goals and 10 assists. It was really good for the attacking players on Brentford, but where I worried a little bit about was that defense, particularly Ajer and Ben Mee, who 6.97 overall rating is pretty average. How did Ben Mee do? A little bit worse. I think if we look again back at the league table, 61 goals, quite a few goals, but those 60 goals allowed might have been the downfall. And sure enough, looking at that goals for, Brentford, one of the highest scorers in the English Premier Division. ChatGPT coming in with a really good attacking tactic, but quite a few allowed goals. I think that's what ended up making a big difference and possibly prevented Brentford from doing better, which makes a bit of sense. Just looking at all that attacking roles, I think maybe if we changed one of these to a supporting role, or if we changed some of these to a support or defend role, that might have helped to shore up the defense a little bit more. But overall, I think we can't complain. This is a pretty good tactic. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of Brentford's players to feature in the top goal scorer or the team of the year. That's not too surprising. But that being said, I do think players like Ivan Toney, Mikkel Damsgaard, and Mbuemo specifically had really good seasons. So overall, that's it. I think ChatGPT came up with a pretty decent tactic that got Brentford to finish around mid-table. It was a lot of attacking duties. I think maybe a little bit more defensive structure would have helped. But players in the attacking third, I think, had really good seasons. Toney, Damsgaard, and Mbuemo specifically, I think, had fantastic seasons. It was just maybe in defense where the team struggled a little bit. But overall, a very good season for Brentford. ChatGPT coming up with a solid tactic, and not too bad overall. Well, that's all I've got for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time. Bye.